Hello, folks. Today I'm really excited to bring the next series of videos so that we will be making with respect to the topic Databricks. And we have designed this Databricks course in such a way that there will be different modules, and each modules will have the different videos in that modules, right? And this is designed for especially for a data engineer who will be kind of interested to learn more about Databricks, but also it is recommended if you are a data analyst or like a data scientist or a machine learning or AI engineer, you can still make use of this videos because it will be helpful for your activities as well, right? And if you are in a data space from a long time, or if you are been introduced recently as well, so definitely you might have heard about Databricks, which is a hot skill in the market today. And that is the reason so that we are bringing the video as like specific to Databricks. And this is more of a course actually, like we are launching as a course to make helpful for the data engineers who want to learn Databricks from like a basics to the expertise level. So before proceeding, if you are new to this channel and haven't yet subscribed for this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So before actually getting into the different topics, like before actually getting into the module 1, where exactly our course will start. So we will start with the module 0, that is Databricks introduction, right? So definitely we want to know what exactly the Databricks is and what value that it is bringing to the technology especially in the data space, right? So let us learn about and understand about that as an introductory part. So first question is, what is Databricks? So Databricks, to understand the scale of it, right? So definitely, if you see the stats that it is already implemented or being used in almost 7,000 plus customers across the globe, and you can imagine the scale of Databricks. I mean, how much companies or the industries might have been start using it, starting from like pharmaceutical, manufacturing, retail, energy. So all these different verticals, customers are being using this. Databricks from quite a long period now. And also, more than a 50% of even Fortune 500 companies are already using Databricks, and other companies, more customers are expected to get introduced to Databricks and start using Databricks. So I mean, that shows the scale and power of Databricks in the current data space or data engineering space, what we call, right? And it is, I mean, why the Databricks is so valued for by all these customers, right? Because they have built the trust using the bringing up the open source technologies like Spark, MLflow, and Delta Lake. So you might have already heard about this, but definitely these the technologies you see, right? So these are like very familiar technologies or familiar things. If you are into a data space from quite a long period now, you might have already heard about Spark, which is very a powerful engine. So it's already, I mean, it's actually been introduced by Databricks if you are not knowing it. So that is a that's actually an open source technology that is introduced by that was introduced by Databricks. And there's a machine learning flow and also a Delta Lake concept, which is a more of a Delta Lake is more of a storage concept, right? So we will learn more about these open source technologies, but since like Databricks is kind of bringing all these kind of open source technologies which actually worked in the market and able to kind of contribute to the community of data engineering or data space. So that is the reason you can see a lot of customers are there is a trust for these customers to use Databricks as a technology for them. And Lakehouse platform, right? So Lakehouse platform is a recently introduced. Why this is introduced, we will see in a moment. But so this is the latest update of a Databricks where you see everything at one place. Everything in the sense you can do a data pull ETL kind of thing. You can do perform analysis, data analytics, machine learning, AI kind of things. So you can do a data warehousing. You can also do a Power BI kind of a reporting, all kind of a BI reporting. So everything you can do in one umbrella, right? So that is where we call it as one place, and this is the technology Databricks has named it as a Lakehouse platform. So this exactly, I think it's able to give the high level picture about what exactly the Databricks is, right? And coming to the next thing, right? As you can see, enterprise data challenges. Now let us kind of go in a little bit deeper and understand what exactly Databricks is trying to, solve here, right? Before going to the solution, let us see the challenge in the data space. What exactly the challenge is there, especially with respect to the architecture, right? So when we see about architecture, when you are designing an architecture, most of the organization will think of data warehousing. There will be separate architecture, and data engineering there will be separate architecture, and for a data science or a ML kind of scenarios, they will be designing a separate architecture. That means like if you consider data warehouse, right? So here you can see it will start from the structured data, like in the form of a tabular formats, and then you might have a data marts, like which is a subset of actual data, and then on top of this data marts you might build your analytical reporting, right? And for this, for doing this kind of operation, you might need a specific landscape, technology landscape, where you have a Synapse kind of or a data warehouse kind of technologies, and you build the architecture on top. Keeping all these things in the mind, right? And next, coming to the data engineering space, it is a completely different story where you might be seeing a structured, unstructured, semi-structured data, and also sometimes you might get a streaming kind of a data where you might get the real-time data, right? And getting the data and putting it to data lake. So here it is a data mart, right? Here we will be showing the data engineers will use a data lake, and they will usually perform the transformation, maybe whether it is a ETL or ELT. So there is a slight difference between ETL and ELT. Like here, extract, transform, load, and in the other case, it is extract, load, and then perform the transformation. So if you are not sure about this difference, we will place the link in the description regarding this ETL and ELT. We would recommend you to go and watch that. And also, like as you can see, data engineering skill set or the technology stack is completely different. So, and the architecture, the data architecture also will be designed keeping these things in the mind, right? So all the backend support activities, right, like backend kind of a technology, supporting technologies are different. If you see here using data marts, you're using data lakes, here you might be using some kind of data warehouses, here you might be using like a data lakes, right? So we are using a different kind of a technical stack here. And coming to the data science also, it is completely a different story where they work on the data lake still, but the thing is, like, they need to prepare the data, train the data, and run the training, machine learning and AI training jobs, and also the actual jobs, right? So they will be having a completely different landscape. They would need it completely different landscape. So that is where you see a technical stack which are specific to each. So data warehouses will be having a separate technical stack, and yeah, there is a small correction. This is actually data engineering, not data warehouse. So this is DE. So basically, this is a data engineering tech stack, and this is a data warehouse tech stack, and you have to build a specific tech stack for data science and machine learning kind of requirements. So what exactly the siloed tech stack that we mean here is, so there will be different different kind of a team, which is a dedicated team which will be working on data warehouse. Not only the team, but also the tools and technologies and the data copy and the governance and everything will be different. So this is completely there is a different barrier, and here there is a different barrier. That means so these teams will be working in silos with their own tools and technologies, and data engineering will be using their own tools and technologies. Similarly, data science and ML, right? So the challenge here is definitely the communication, right? So if data has to kind of pass through between these different tech stack or different teams, so definitely there is a wide communication that is needed, good communication that is needed. And if the communication is not effective, so there is a chance of possibly a lot of issues with respect to the data, right? And also you might end up storing multiple copies of data, because these teams will be preparing the data only for their specific needs, and this second team will be using the data and preparing the data only for their specific needs. So in that case, you might end up creating a duplication of the data, which is not actually a good thing to do. And with respect to the governance and security also, you need to implement the different policies here and different policies here and monitor everything in all these different stacks because they are separated. So it becomes very tedious process, right, if you think. And So that is where Databricks has come up with a unified. That means they are trying to kind of bring in all these technology stack into one umbrella, and that is what they are calling as a call it as a Delta Lake or Lakehouse for that matter. Right? So yeah, this is a solution what we can see that is given by the Databricks for the previous what we have seen this problem, right? As you can see, there is already a data lake, which mostly the data engineers and like mostly the machine learning or kind of a scientist, a data scientist will be using the data lake, and data warehouse is specifically mostly used by data analyst and say a business analyst, right? And also there might be some Power BI or kind of a BI reporting where different maybe like finance, manufacturing, retail kind of industry specific users might use that kind of data using these reporting tools. But now, so if these two are combined, right? I mean, if these two are combined, in that case, what what we get is like we will get the benefits of both. That means with respect to the technology landscape, so it will be combined, and so that they are calling it as a lake house. So lake house is nothing but it is a combination of data lake and also data warehouse. Because why they are doing this? Because data lake, if you consider data lake, right, it supports a machine learning and it's also open source kind of software, and there might be a data quality issues here. So if you talk about data lake, since we are using, we might be using unstructured data and semi-structured data when we kind of parse the data and all, right? So the volume of the data that data lake has is also more. So in that case, the data quality might be really poor. Okay, and also the data lake will not support like a BI kind of capabilities, right? I mean, it supports in the sense it is not optimized for business intelligence kind of reporting, right? So in the other way, if you talk about a data warehouse, it actually is good for business intelligence applications like Power BI, Tableau, or whatever reporting tool you might think about. And but the thing is, it has a limited support for machine learning. So machine learning it does support, but again it's a limited support, right? And it only supports the SQL kind of formatting. So if you talk about data warehouse, right, it is only a structured data what we are thinking. So there is no room for no SQL. That means structured or semi-structured kind of data, data warehouse won't support. So that is where there are kind of a pros and cons on both the sides, if you see, right? And what if you kind of merge these two technologies and bring the data lake house? We call it as a lake house. Here you can imagine, right? They are bringing the pros of both, and they are building a data lake house. In this case, it will also support BI kind of tools, and also it supports the machine learning kind of analytics. It also supports a SQL and also supports NoSQL. So basically, you are able to bring the advantages of both the data lake and data warehouse, and we call it as a lakehouse. So in definition, we can call it as a unified platform to all data. Data means we are kind of bringing the data like ETL or ELT kind of data and storing that, and perform analytics. Analytics is nothing but we can do a machine learning, artificial intelligence, and business intelligence kind of thing, and also we can perform a artificial intelligence and ML kind of workloads. You can run the AI ML jobs also. So this is the, I mean, this is the power of a lakehouse, right? As you can understand, it has a power of both data lake and data warehouse. Moving to the next topic where we discuss about Delta Lake in Lakehouse. So you might be wondering what is Delta Lake, right? So if you are kind of new to this like Databricks, right? You might have not heard about Delta Lake, or if you are new to the data engineering space, you might not have heard about data lake. But if you are quite a some time in data engineering space or data space, you might be familiar with delta lake. So delta lake is kind of a, it's part of lakehouse. That means delta lake is actually a heart of lakehouse. So what we are trying to say here is, so the Delta Lake, Data Lakehouse basically. Lakehouse is kind of a built with the foundation of Delta Lake. So Delta Lake is an old concept, and Lakehouse is a new concept as we are kind of exploring. And Delta Lake is actually built. The Lakehouse is actually built on top of Delta Lake. And most of the features that Delta Lake has, right? So that will be inherited obviously to the Lakehouse as well. And what exactly the features of Delta Lake? So this features of Delta Lake we can pretty much see here, and it is actually reliable with the transactions. Because if you talk about just a data lake, right? So data lake is not so reliable with respect to the transaction. It is very good in terms of storing the like a static kind of a data, right? Which is not a transactional behavior kind of thing, like a OLAP kind of thing, right? But so Delta Lake also has a capability to kind of support transaction. That means OLTP kind of scenarios, right? And also it is a 48 times faster data processing. If you are comparing with the data warehouse, right? So data warehouse is not so fast in terms of processing the huge volume of data. And since we have combined the data warehouse and data warehouse with the data lake compute capabilities, right? So the Delta Lake is becoming more powerful, and it's kind of giving 48 times faster data processing capability. And also, you might, if you think at a larger perspective, right? So definitely the data governance, and if you want to implement any kind of security governance at scale with the fine-grained access controls, you can pretty much do using Delta Lake, because it will give a role-specific access control and also a folder-specific or a hierarchy-specific access control, which will definitely help uh, control the access at a very fine-grained level. So I hope you briefly understood what exactly the Delta Lake concept, which actually is the foundation to build a lakehouse. And now actually we will see the lakehouse architecture, like what exactly it looks like, and so how exactly we can see at a high level, right? So this is how the Databricks Lakehouse platform architecture will look like. And if you see everything like data engineering, BA and SQL analytics, data science, and real-time application, everything has been built in, has been bought in one umbrella. That means that there is no siloed teams, there is no siloed architecture, there is no siloed technology stack that's been there. It's all has been bought into one umbrella. And the foundation of it, as you can see, the data management and governance and open data lake and platform security administration. So there is no separate need for separate teams going and performing these operations to each and every team. So because this is being like brought in one umbrella, so this become more simplified, right? So that is where we talk about the advantages of data lakehouse, Databricks lakehouse platform, right? To be very specific, is first thing is it is simple. What exactly simple means, right? So data is actually getting stored in a data lake rather to copy back and forth to the other systems. So if you are using a data warehouse and if you are using a machine learning kind of scenarios, right, your data might be going back and forth from the data warehouse to kind of a data lake and then perform the analytics and then come back to the data warehouse. So that will be reduced here. Data movement will be reduced back and forth. And there is no separate need of a architecture and a separate ecospace or a technology stack, and everything is brought into one umbrella. And also there is availability of Databricks in different major cloud vendors in the market today, like Azure and AWS and Google Cloud. So Databricks is being supported by all of these major cloud vendors. So that's the whole reason. So it becomes quite simple if you want to switch from one vendor to another vendor. So it is quite flexible and more simple to do it. And next thing definitely is open source, right? What exactly open source? You might be knowing open source is nothing but like building some kind of tools and technologies with some great innovations, but still keeping the lock-in period open. That means there is no specific lock-in period. If you want to kind of go out of Databricks, right? There is no lock-in period for anything to do like that. And data is always in a customer control. So since there is no lock-in period, so that is where we call it as open source. And Databricks is not new in doing this. So as we told, right, they already done the similar thing for Spark, ML Flow, and Delta Lake, right? And they are successful in doing that. That is the reason. So Lakehouse is also trusted by different many customers actually, right? And also there are like 450 plus partners that's been collaborating with Databricks. That means Databricks can integrate well with all these technology partners of business intelligence like ETL tools, or there may be some governance tools, right? So to work together basically. So that shows how open the Databricks is to kind of merge itself with the different technology partners. And also it make things more collaborative, right? So that's the whole intention of I mean solving the solution here. So all the teams, it may be a data engineering team, BI team, or a data science team, so all will become more collaborative here, since they are accessing the same copy of data, or same copy of governance, or same copy of the technology stack, right? And there is no kind, I mean they can work collaboratively, but still they can build the use cases specific to their use cases or the needs. So that is the kind of advantage or power of Lakehouse platform that has been introduced recently by Databricks. So this is the introductory part, but keep watching this space for more videos uh, to follow. So we are building a brand new course which will be explaining each and every topic, and by end of this course you are expected to be a master in Databricks, especially with the data engineering skill set. Thanks for watching.